What is up, guys? Wrestling Premiere is here. Brotherly love. This feud isn't Austin or Rock or anything like that, but I just enjoyed it for what it was. It could have been better, as you all know, but what we got was decent enough. I liked the matches, I liked some of the promos. Anyways, as you all know, these two are part of one of the greatest tag teams in WWE history. I will say, though, that they were the most popular from their time period. Everyone loved Team Extreme. They won tag team gold on 6 occasions from 1999 all the way to 2007, and Matt Hardy didn't have a noteworthy run as a singles competitor if you consider title reigns, because other than that, he was decent. He was in some fun programs, you know, Matt Hardy version 1, Edge, MVP. He was a mid-carder that was one match or feud away from the main event scene. Jeff Hardy, on the other hand, had mild success. He was seen as the one who had potential, but he had a lot of issues, like his problems got in the way of his career. He joined TNA in 2004. Hardy competed there for about 3 years before finally returning to WWE in August of 2006. Upon his return, he was given a push, capturing the Intercontinental Championship twice, and at one point holding the title for 3 months. After capturing the IC title in September of 2007, Jeff began to build momentum. He already connected with the fans, but now management was starting to get behind him. This would finally pay off for Hardy at Armageddon 2008 when he finally captured the WWE Championship. Meanwhile, his brother was ECW champion, and it brought us this picture, which for some reason is one of my favorite wrestling pictures ever. Why? Well, it signaled that both men finally succeeded as single stars. Both men were individual leaders of their respective brands, and overall, it was a great time period for the Hardys. But in storyline, things would take a turn for the worse. Alright, this is basically the beginning of the video, but before I start, let me just say, here's my Twitter. You could go follow it if you never did. If you're interested, who knows? Maybe you're not. I just wanted to plug it. That's all. Right now, let's get into it. Now, despite being WWE champion, Jeff Hardy was on the receiving end of some attacks. A month before he was champ, he was found unconscious in his hotel room, and initially it was believed that Edge was behind this attack, but that wasn't it. Hardy was a victim of a hit and run on January 8, 2009, and once again, the Rated R superstar Edge denied having anything to do with this. As a matter of fact, he said that he'll keep Jeff and his girlfriend in his prayers. On the January 16, 2009 episode of SmackDown, Edge was set to host the Cutting Edge with Jeff Hardy as his guest. When Hardy came out, he did his usual entrance as the crowd were loud and whatnot, and for some reason there was a pyro accident, and Hardy, as a result of this, had to be stretchered out of there. There was still assumption that Edge was behind this, but he continued to deny the accusations. Meanwhile, Matt had just lost the ECW title 3 nights earlier. Jeff didn't let this pyro accident stop him, and he said that he knows who's responsible for this, Edge. The charismatic Enigma connected the dots from Survivor Series all the way to last week. Someone's trying to prevent him from living his dream. Hardy said that Edge is behind this, and it's too coincidental. Jeff said that Edge will never stop what's behind him, and that there's nothing to fear but fear itself. A few minutes later, Edge destroyed Matt Hardy in a no DQ match. At the Royal Rumble, Hardy walked into Detroit looking to defend his title in a no DQ match. Jeff did his part in the match, but it wasn't to be, as near the end of the match, his brother Matt came out to help. The Hardys were about to hit the concerto on Edge when Matt decided, you know what, screw this. He blasted the hell out of his brother. Once again, Matt has betrayed Jeff. Edge went for the cover, and he became the new WWE champion. The fans booed as Matt walked straight to the back, expressing no emotion. On that week's SmackDown, Matt Hardy came out to explain his actions. Now, this is the first time I've seen this promo since the night it aired, I believe. I haven't seen it since 2009. I barely even remember anything about it. I just remember he was there expressing no emotion. Matt said that he finally doesn't have to share the spotlight with his brother. As a matter of fact, it's better to hear his words. I've always been Jeff's big brother, and since day one, I've taken care of him both personally and professionally. You know, it's rather ironic that right around the time that Jeff was becoming WWE champion, all these accidents started occurring to him. You know, some people even go so far as to blame me for these accidents. They have that audacity. But there's no one that can prove I was the guy that attacked Jeff in the stairwell before Survivor Series. No one can prove that I caused the accident when Jeff was run off the road. And no one can prove that I caused the accident when someone tampered with Jeff's pyro. But I'll tell you what you can prove and what wasn't an accident, and that's what I did to Jeff at the Royal Rumble. With one shot of that exact same chair that I'm sitting on right now, all the pain and suffering that Jeff put me through for so many years was transferred right back to him, and it felt good. It felt good. You have no idea how much of a burden and responsibility it was to take care of a brother like Jeff, who was nothing more than a constant mistake. You know how many nights I was awake and by the phone asking me, Matt, where's Jeff? What's wrong with Jeff? You know how many times I had to cover for Jeff? You know how many nights Matt had to worry about Jeff? No more. And without me in Jeff's life to be his guiding light, Jeff Hardy won't ever be able to survive. He's a psychological wreck. Me, I've never been healthier or happier. Yeah, it shows. And if my survival means Jeff's total destruction, then so be it. But Jeff isn't the only one to blame for the decisions I've been forced to make. It's also each and every one of you. For over 10 years, I've tried to get each and every one of you to like me. I've signed autographs. I've taken pictures. I've done everything in my power to make you happy, but it was never good enough. I've been a role model to kids and adults alike, but all each and every one of you cared about was the irresponsible, self-destructive screw-up known as Jeff Hardy. So from now on, the only person I care about is me. And Jeff, I have one thing to say to you as well. I know you're at home right now and you're watching this, and I officially make a decree out of disdain. There is no such thing anymore as the Hardy Boyz. I no longer consider you my partner, and I no longer consider you my brother. Damn. For some reason, they were playing ominous music while Matt was speaking. I don't even know why. Anyways, this has got to be one of Matt's best promos. The fans were starting to clamor for Jeff to come out, and he obviously didn't. The next week, the Hurricane explained what he thought of this. He said that Jeff finally made it to the top, but Matt pulled this stunt and took it all away. And he claimed that Matt was secretly like this the entire time. It was just at the Royal Rumble he finally revealed himself. Matt did respond to these comments later that night. He called for the Hurricane to come down to the ring and do something about it. Helms did come out and they brawled. Matt had the upper hand for a bit, but then Helms managed to fight back. Hardy regained the advantage by slamming him to the steel steps, and he laid him out in the ring. After being informed of Jeff Hardy's return for next week, JR interviewed Matt Hardy. Matt said that he has no brother and that a lot could happen in 7 days, and it would be extremely unfortunate if Jeff suffered another accident. Matt said that if his brother does come to SmackDown the next week, then he's waiting for him with open arms. Jeff Hardy finally returned to SmackDown the following week. The damn pop he got, man, it was wild and deafening. Like, this guy was so damn over. He still is. Jeff discussed the issue he had with his brother. He said that a big brother is someone who should be your role model, someone you should look up to, but Matt is someone who's jealous. Jeff said that he refuses to live in the past, and this Sunday he's going to become WWE champion whether Matt Hardy likes it or not. Basically, Hardy was hurt from this, but he was focused on capturing the title at No Way Out, and basically he kind of moved on from this issue. Jeff didn't capture the title, and on the following week's SmackDown, he faced Edge. During the match, Matt interfered and he delivered a twist of fate on his brother. Afterwards, Matt said that he's going to give Jeff the opportunity to turn his luck around by facing him one-on-one next week. The following week, Jeff came out, but he appeared in his street clothes. Matt was confused, and Jeff said that Matt's always been there for him and they always helped each other. He hoped that Matt would get out of this crazy phase because he did nothing to deserve this. He said that he isn't gonna fight Matt, not tonight, not ever, because whether Matt likes it or not, he's his brother. Right when Big Brother heard this, he grabbed the mic and said that he isn't Jeff's brother. Matt said that this isn't about Jeff, it's about him. It's about his needs and it's about what he needs to say. He said that each and every one of these people make him physically sick when they cheer for Jeff Hardy. He has to swallow the fact that his career has been mediocre while Jeff's skyrocketed to the top. He then blamed Jeff and the fans for believing in the charismatic Enigma's hype, and he then repeatedly asked Jeff to fight him. He didn't though. So Matt decided to slap him and call him a coward. He then backhanded him, but Jeff still didn't want to fight. Instead, he turned the other cheek and walked to the back as the fans cheered for him. That basically hurt Matt more than the slap Jeff got, because you know the success of his brother and the fans love him more. Like, he was standing on the stage and the fans were going crazy, but Matt, like, he just seen that, he was jealous. In the coming weeks, Jeff continued to turn down a match against Matt. Big Brother responded to this saying that he's going to win his Money in the Bank qualifying match, and if Jeff does win his match, then he'll finally get his hands on his brother. He said he's going to destroy Jeff and the other competitors to win Money in the Bank and eventually become a world champion. Unfortunately for Matt, MVP was looking to do the same. In the end, it was MVP who won. Jeff, meanwhile, was set to face Shelton Benjamin later that night. During the match, Matt Hardy stood on the ring apron and entered the ring. He stared at his brother before blasting Shelton Benjamin to cause the DQ. He turned his back on him and left the ring. Jeff showed no emotion as Matt walked to the back. Now, I just gotta mention this. Sometime during this heel run, Matt moved to SmackDown. I don't know exactly when. Maybe it was the first SmackDown after the Rumble. But yeah, he moved to SmackDown, and I just had to mention it because you guys already know he was on ECW. Anyways, this thing between Jeff and Matt would reach its boiling point on the March 13, 2009 episode of SmackDown. I'm just gonna give you guys Matt's words because this is one of the more well-known promos from this feud. You've been through a lot this year, Jeff. A lot of ups, a lot of downs, a lot of highs, lows. You couldn't compete in WrestleMania last year because you were suspended. You were out having a little too much fun. Me, on the other hand, I couldn't compete in an actual match at WrestleMania because I was injured. I had a legitimate injury, but from day one of your suspension, no one cared about Matt. No one gave a damn about me or my injury. And you did suffer a very unfortunate amount of accidents, Jeff. You were attacked in a stairwell. Your car was run off the road. There was the accident with the pyro. I mean, who could have done this to you, Jeff? Was it a group of people? Does someone hold a grudge against you? Or maybe it was just one person? But there was one day in particular that I remember very strongly, Jeff. That was shortly after you got suspended. You'd been out for several days, your music blasting, your dog barking, and you and Beth decided to leave your house. And while you were gone, you received a call from me. And I said, Jeff, your house is on fire, man. I couldn't go outside and watch it. I can only picture in my mind you losing everything you worked so hard for. All your recordings, your artwork. And you asked me, Matt, what about my dog? What about Jack? Is he okay? Well, as we all know what happened to poor little Jack. He didn't make it, and sometimes accidents turn into tragedies that are incredibly hard to believe. Matt then pulled out a watch and he said, Jeff, do you remember this? Or what's actually left of it? I found this the day after everything you've ever owned went down in flames. It was in a heap of ashes, and I've been holding on to this for a very long time. I decided I'd give it to you when the time was right, and well, the time is right now. So I wanted to give this to you as a token of my love for my brother, Jeff Hardy. The charismatic Enigma heard and saw enough, and he decided to come out. He took the mic away from Matt, and he said this is so hard to believe. You're behind all this. The stairwell, the car crash, you tried to blow me up. I never thought my own flesh and blood could be capable of something so horrible. Don't bring up my house, man. Come on. Don't bring up my dog, man. Don't bring up everything I love. You want to hurt me, don't you? You want to hurt me, don't you, Matt? You hate me, Matt? Don't you? You don't love me. You hate me. But you know what, Matthew Moore Hardy? You hate yourself more than you could ever know. Because you're sick, twisted, you're demented. And so am I. Jeff unloaded on his brother before he ran out. Matt apologized and said that he loves Jeff before reverting to the state of trance he was previously in. And if you could see it, he had a small smile on his face. He wanted this to happen. He basically triggered Jeff Hardy and he made him come out to the ring and assault him so he could get his matchup against him. Sometime afterwards, the match between the two was made for WrestleMania 25 and it was an Extreme Rules match. Personally, I love the promo for that match. It summed up all things that's underrated. Like, it showed us the Hardys from when they were jobbers all the way up to now and how they're fighting each other and how Matt Hardy was basically heartless at this point. Anyways, as for the match, it was fun. This WrestleMania may have been underwhelming, but this was one of the few bright spots of the night. Jeff and Matt put on an entertaining fight. Near the end, Jeff leaped over a ladder and onto the mat. He was looking for his brother, but he moved out of the way. Matt then hit a brutal twist of fate on Jeff to emerge victorious, and finally, this victory meant that he was out of Jeff's shadow. Despite the victory, this thing between Jeff and Matt had yet to be resolved. On the April 10, 2009 episode of SmackDown, Matt Hardy came out to flaunt about his victory at WrestleMania. As the fans booed, Matt mentioned WrestleMania moments before speaking about his match. He said that the greatest WrestleMania moment was when Matt Hardy beat the Extreme Enigma in an Extreme Rules match with an extreme twist of fate. Matt said that for years he's been looked at as the other Hardy, but after all the talk, after all the false promises, he knew that it would take an extreme beating and 3 seconds, and that's what he did at WrestleMania. He proved to the world that he's the superior Hardy. The fans booed and Matt said that isn't enough. As long as there's a little kid wearing Jeff's armbands, it'll never be enough. He said that he's gotta erase Jeff from the WWE. Matt said that he'll be waiting for Jeff every time he leaves a party, and he called for the charismatic Enigma to come down to the ring and apologize to his fans for being a disappointment, and to apologize to him, Matt, for attempting to be his brother. And if he doesn't do this, then he'll, Jeff, leave this ring in a stretcher and never wrestle again. He called for Jeff to come out and admit to the fans that he's an extreme disappointment. We want Jeff chants intensified, and out he came. Hardy stood next to the ringside before running to the ring, and Matt ran away. Jeff was still feeling the effects of that matchup from WrestleMania. Theodore Long came out and he booked the Hardys in a stretcher match for later that night. That match was one of the best stretcher matches ever. Brothers turned enemies. The fact that Jeff Hardy took these bumps is crazy to me because this was 2 days after WrestleMania. The same WrestleMania where he jumped off a ladder onto some tables and off a ladder onto the mat. He's crazy. Matt capitalized on Jeff's risk-taking by blasting him with a chair and sending him past the finish line to win the match. He added insult to injury by kicking the stretcher down the ramp. On that week's draft episode of Raw, Matt Hardy was drafted to the Red brand. Personally, I thought big things were in store for Matt at this time. Anyways, on the April 17th episode of SmackDown, Theodore Long booked the I Quit match between Matt and Jeff. Hardy did speak about this match on the final SmackDown before Backlash. He said that Matt's victory at WrestleMania was his biggest victory without a doubt. He said that Matt sent him on a stretcher, and he said that Matt's overconfidence will kill him, and all the pain he suffered through his life will show through at Backlash. And although they won't have ladders, tables, and chairs, they will have the words I quit, and after Backlash, Matt will be known as the Hardy who quit. Not for the moment, but for the rest of his career. Now, the last time I watched this match, I liked it. I thought it was an enjoyable affair, and yeah, sure, it could have been better, but what we got was good enough. If you want me to go in depth about this match, just wait up. I'm planning to remake the 2009 Backlash video, because first of all, I didn't really explain much in that video, you know, it's 4 minutes long, and second, this is Backlash season, so expect that one in the coming days or weeks. In the end, Jeff tied Matt to a table, and he went to the top rope. Nope. He grabbed the ladder and climbed to the top. Matt apologized to him. He apologized for everything as the fans booed. He told them that he loves them and that they're brothers, and this is not something that brothers do to each other. He said that their family wouldn't want this to happen, and before you knew it, Matt shouted, "I quit." Jeff still leaped over the ladder onto Matt, and I believe Matt broke his hand at that moment. He fell back to the mid-card scene afterwards while Jeff went on to end his feud with Edge. Matt did return and he sabotaged Hardy's quest to become the new champion at Judgment Day, but other than that, the feud was over. The Hardys continued to dislike one another up until the August 7, 2009 episode of SmackDown. On that night, Matt Hardy was booked to officiate the Jeff Hardy World title match against CM Punk. During the match, Punk bumped into Matt, and this led to Matt screwing him over and helping his brother retain his title. Following this, Matt realigned himself with Jeff, and that's it. Matt was back to being a face, and he expressed remorse over this whole debacle with his brother. Overall, this feud wasn't bad. I'm glad we got to see these two feud in a prominent spot, unlike Edge and Christian, who feuded in the middle of the invasion. I mean, if the Hardys suffered the same fate, then we'd be wishing that they had feuded. So overall, matches were good, decent. Promos, the one that Matt cut was kind of weird, although some like it. It wasn't bad though, it was just weird. And I personally believe Matt could have been a star after this, but hey, it was not meant to be. And that's it for this video. Make sure you hit a twist of fate on the like button, and perhaps a swanton bomb on the subscribe button. Peace, I'm out.